Alright, so it's time to now destroy a British landmark.
It's what we call burning bridges.
Yeah, literally.
Oh god,
Uh,
the River Thames, it's genius. We'll subject the aliens to the absolute pollution of that
it's
river.
a bit frozen, so it would be a bit hard for them to fall over completely. My point also, Java, is that yeah, each level is named as a particular naming, like it was a bit of a tradition of FPSs, at the time. Oh, it's this level. I'll explain in a second after the intercom is over. Okay, for the vast majority of this level, you're basically stuck in this particular area to repel a couple of waves. You do have quite a substantial amount of supplies, both in terms of LPAC or SIMPAC, as they're called, and ammunitions for all of your arsenal. The problem is that the Chimeras are become even more ruthless than usual. And as a result, they will keep just swarming and swarming and having a fuck ton of stalkers, arriving, and later on even a Widowmaker without you having a tank to actually, combat the motherfucker. So it's strongly encouraged, but you're constantly, once again, do mentality of be always on the move, but at the same time try to get behind the cover in this case because the stalker keeps peppering you with bullets, so your chances are you're probably gonna die in this a lot.
You're gonna die. A lot.
Yeah, like I said, it's not too bad, but it comes close to be the most frustrating part of the entire game as a result. And like I said, I did not even particularly use the secondary fire of a rocket launcher because I'm just not really used to actually properly use it, but it didn't feel comfortable to me. You can try also the deep organic bombs that I think I'm about to use because they are good enough to inflict like a lot of damage. But ow. Again, that's the problem also. Despite this, you're constantly get riddled with bullets, and your health is not really that big, as a result. Sure, thankfully the sim packs will allow you to tank a bit and replenish if possible, but it's really hard. And again, this was the time of FPS where they removed stuff like the armor value or having like a 100 percentage. So this was even rougher than a lot of the standards. Like, part of me get it why they eventually removed the armor value. Maybe it was an unnecessary thing that you need to look for a collectible and basically was giving you an extra level of hamper because it was a handicap that the game gave you that then required an in-game resource to handle things. But I don't know. I think it still possibly would have helped, like something equivalent to that, or even an oversimplified version, like say something like when you found it, it basically just you only need like a small symbol, and as long as that is active, it boosts your defense. I don't know, something like that. It just, I think there should have been a better solution than that. Again, Doom 2016 brought even back. Oh, there it is. This is where the Widowmaker starts spawning, and like the bestiary told, focus your priority on the motherfucker because and use the large because it's the only real effective. Because otherwise, it will start spawning, his own version of the organic bombs, which will be a pain in the ass for you to deal with, meaning that you need to take it down very quickly. Otherwise, you're dead. Thankfully, the stalkers do not spawn, immediately after this. But if I recall correctly, there are at least one or two more after it. So, again, even if it looks like it make it look too easy, that's because there's way too many deaths that I'm just not showcasing.
Kick ass and take teeth.
Yes.
I do want to take his.
As trophies. One of the characters in the third game. Oh no, London Bridge is
falling down, falling down, falling down.
Well, actually, it didn't even fall down. It just the roads blew up.
That's actually the plot point. It did not fall down completely.
So we'll make a bridge of our own.
So basically, we need to finish the job because again, apparently the
The
British
Great River
resistance.
Bridge. I told you we had more of them.
Again, the British resistance cannot do jack shit, and they need the almighty American Nathan Hale to save their asses.
Ah, historical accuracy at work.
Damn.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that period in history where the Tower Bridge just blew up. But we
I
rebuilt
prefer
it.
the joke from The Simpsons doing the marriage of Lisa, where we have the British boyfriend and
This is,
and Mo, and I think it was
Mo, yeah.
Mo's like, oh, we saved your asses in World War II, and the guy's like, yeah, but we did save yours in World War III.
Yeah, this is
Also,
this is-
Simpsons,
this is- I
please
really-
do not tell me you predicted World War III.
I, being Portuguese that I am, I of course appreciate my neutral role where I just sit here just minding my own business where you guys tear each other apart.
There you go. Taking the roofs allowed you to actually, you know, sneak up on these elite chimeras, because otherwise the stupid ogre will become even more of a pain in the ass.
Also, I guess we have a flashlight attached to our gun.
Well, I didn't talk about it, but you have it from the beginning. You can toggle it on and off with the right section of the D-pad. It's not useful all the time, but it does the job, you know, for what it wants to do, and you know, it's fine.
I guess somebody might want to toggle it off for challenge. Otherwise, I would not understand why anyone would
Trust
wanna
me,
toggle
Trovan,
it.
this is technically a step up, because one of the more contentious points of Doom 3 was the way the flashlight in that one was handled.
Let me guess, batteries.
No, believe it or not, no. As far as I remember, I don't remember if that batteries. But the point is that it occupied a weapon slot, and as such, you could not use it at the same time as you know, as having another weapon. You know, and as a result, it looked so awkward and janky for a lot of. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, and don't worry about this. Like I said, I will read all the collectibles in an extra part.
Yeah, it means kick ass or something.
I suppose.
don't know, yeah.
Remind me, Theo, this takes place during World War I or something like that, right?
No,
No,
after,
it's
After
a-
World War
War
II.
Anyway, yes, it's another history where World War I happened, but afterward, because again, I remember there is a detailed description somewhere else, but the point is that the nations of Europe were more charitable towards Austria and Germany, and as a result, the World War II never happened, and the fascist dictatorships never rose to power. Apparently, but and because of the events because of the, you know, chain reaction from the Tunguska event, the Eurasian of Russia collapsed. I think even before the Soviet Union could happen, because the Tunguska event was
Now,
1908.
the Soviet Union was formed around the early 20s, I think.
True, but the Tunguska event happened in 1908, and if I remember correctly, like I said, there is an explanation of the timeline properly of the events, but I don't remember actually where it is. Point being, you know, Russia basically became isolated and gave no, you know, notices. And then after a while, the hordes of Chimera started pouring from there and started assimilating the rest of Europe. But by this time, we do know that, you know, Europe is almost completely butt fucked, and you know, the UK is
1922, then.
the last major, you know, bastion remaining. We don't, and same goes for Asia. But according to the map, Australia and America are fine. We have to assume also that Africa is actually still doing fine, technically, even if it's connected via land. So there is that. We will learn more a bit what's going on through the rest of the world in the next games.
The outlook of the battle was growing bleaker by the second. Our tanks had killed legions of Chimera, but still they poured out of the tower. The Chimeran forces were
Well, the
holding
tower
us
up.
in check, while their
Yeah,
Goliaths
that's what we need to do,
closed in
but
on
we need to
Southern
reach it
Bridge.
first.
With Tower Bridge destroyed, there was no possibility of retreat. The team I sent to destroy Southwark Bridge was not responding.
Yeah, that's what Hale has to
Only
do to
a
finish
matter
the
of time
job.
before we heard the spires in the air.
One last job.
Well, technically, the next part is the last job, or I suppose the entire operation is. Now, basically, we have to go. We have to get the subway to actually reach
The underground.
South Wanker Bridge.
We're going to the underground, are we?
Yeah.
Great, then we can. Well, actually, no, the underground's known for being one of the cleanest ways to travel. So,
Well, do you have any joke like the place is not tidy up, or people are skipping over the without paying the ticket or something?
well, I've been to the. I've been on the tube a few times. Most parts of it are clean, but there are other parts where it looks like they haven't scrubbed the walls in a while.
As someone coming from a city that has an underground, subway system, I can tell you that when I actually went to London, I found that it was way bigger than the one here, and potentially a bit more, easy to lose oneself in as a result. I don't know about how is that in New York, Jova, but I can imagine it's equally big, if not even more. Okay.
Okay. Actually, New York has like an extremely large network of subway tunnels, some of which apparently are pretty ancient too. It was
Of course. So that means we have to. That means Doctor Attack 3 has to be set there.
Like,
Well,
sure, why not?
What to be fair, he says subway tunnels, not so much underground ruins. That's kind of a
Well, subway
I mean, we're
tunnel.
ancient enough.
Yeah, admittedly, some are pretty old.
Also, if the Hellraiser comic can make it so that the subway system can be used to solve a puzzle to turn into a Cenobite, I guess everything's possible.
Also, Taylor, you said that, but before we go to New York for the Trek 3, we still need that second game in Milan.
That's what I said. That's what I said. Third game, because the second one is supposed to be set here.
Yeah, but I mean, Noriyuki is still there, but I'd
Like I said,
they'll let him make it.
Like I said, if Getsu Fumaden can get a sequel 30 years plus after the first came out, I really guess everything is possible.
I honestly would not mind Lautrec getting a sequel.
Well,
I mean,
I get the idea, Joe, that they probably should port the first game first.
Oh wow, yeah.
The problem is that not only would it take for convincing Konami to want to do it, there's literally zero demand. Like, yes, there's the occasional 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Lautrec fans, but let's face it, that series has basically zero demand.
I mean, like I said, I'm pretty sure Getsu Fumaden did not have that many fan base either, and yet we got a substantial kind of sequel.
I guess.
After that, not to mention all the different collections that Konami's. Well, to be fair, it's more limited run games that Konami is just giving their blessing, but a couple of them are from IPs that are now technically a bit forgotten, like Rocket Knight.
But yeah, like talk about what I was saying earlier. No, it shows right here. It also involves you here, Duez, that I'm reading here, because during World War One, Portugal remained neutral until 1916 because since we were in alliance with the United Kingdom, the Brits asked Portugal to come and help them, and basically it got us in a fight with Germany as a result of that.
It happened a lot with some states that did not intervene directly, like, say, for example, Australia or India. We did saw a glimpse of that in Valiant Hearts. The idea that they just sent a specific division in support. Something similar happened during World War II, where the U.S. Army, that had to free my country, was supported by a Brazilian division.
So yeah, hashtag thanks Britain. But there's a similar thing that happened also in World War II. In World War II, we also, despite the Anglo-Portuguese alliance remaining intact, and since the British for once did not ask for our assistance, Portugal was free to remain neutral in the war and would do so, basically.
It's similar to what happened with Spain. In the case of that, Francisco Franco, despite the country being on a fascist regime, decided to remain neutral because they felt like they did not had enough, sufficient military, might to actually choose one side or another, and decide to very wisely step outside.
So, Tio, playing this game now, how would you say it feels compared to when you first played it?
Not much time has passed technically because I did not mention this yet. But one factor that we also have to remember that we did mention for other games like Homefront is that these being considered AAA titles back then, these were released at full price. So that means 60 games, and for a console that, as a reminder, costed $599 US. You know. So this was still a bit of commitment back then. I, however, took advantage before this and Killzone on to get an offer at Tex, where they sold each of these titles for like $3 each. It literally was a steal. So I was like, yeah, fuck it, let's give it a try.
You know,
Because for a long time I did not even bother to wanting to play this. So I did. I think it was 2021. I think that when I actually bothered to play them, and predictably, I kind of sucked. It was still a bit of a period where I was, not being super fully committed. But eventually, I got good enough to actually finish all of them, and that was, back then. And then more recently, I re-recorded all of them for this, and I snuggled a couple of extra trophies, which you will see popping up for the next couple of games.
Sometimes I wonder if in hindsight, and this probably goes for anything, but I can just imagine the people slapping themselves in the head now seeing how low some of these games go for, because, okay, one thing I do think that the 7th generation of gaming did usher in was when games were starting to get pretty high in cost of maintenance and pricing, but it's funny because, well, it's shown that, and mind you, this is not to say for all of them, but in a lot of cases the value did not carry over, given how a lot of these games would sooner rather than later go on price drops, especially when they didn't always sell the best, or when they were just hopping on that train to get you to buy it, with the intent of you paying microtransactions for multiplayer stuff.
Well, again, Joe, if there's something that I learned over the years is to never buy a game at launch, no matter what happens.
That's kind of become
I know that it can be potentially a dick move because sometimes you think it's the best choice, for example, for an indie game to support the developers, so it's important to have that initial sale figure. But a lot of times it really just is more convenient to just wait until the price deflates onto itself.
And I honestly feel like that mentality was definitely born mainly thanks to the shenanigans going on in the 7th generation of gaming, where
it also helped with the rise of PC games thanks to Steam, which allowed periodic digital sales on a mass level and with huge discounts. Something that, online stores, since they were mostly just being born or experimenting, were not always a guarantee to do, but Steam basically pioneered that because, again, the entire reason Steam was born is because Gabe Newell believed that it essentially needed to offer an alternative for PC games that would actively try to discourage piracy.
And
so
to give him credit, he was on the right track.
It's still not perfect to this very day, but it does the job for a long time. I get the idea that without that, PC gaming would have just, died, and it would have mostly been relegated to consoles for the most part. Which in itself might not be too much of a problem, technically. It's more of a case of what would have happened, ifs and whats, more than anything else.
A world without PC gaming as it is now.
Mind you, considering the evolvement of technology, maybe via laws of probability and, for convenience sakes, maybe it would have still happened. Maybe another company would have swooped over, potentially. Again, ifs and whats. History is technically not made by those. Yes, Pedro?
Two questions still. Does Resistance 2 have some kind of theater mode to watch the cutscenes or something along those lines?
I think it's one of the things that you unlocked after beating the game, but I never checked. 3 actually has that.
I'm guessing 2 well, okay. Yeah, you did hint that 2 and 3 have more involved stories. I mean, granted,
yes,
I think even 1 deserves a theater mode, even if the cutscenes don't amount to much. I don't
remember if it has it or not. Again, I didn't particularly check too much of the extra aside from the stuff that is generally collectible. Anyway, it's time for Hale to blow up the joint. There we go.
Huh.
Unfortunately, a couple of mechs still managed to snuck on the other side, but Cartwright is there with the Jeep. So we have another vehicle section.
How nice you happen to be here.
Use that. I know. I was only trying to disable it. Let's go. We have to catch
Yeah,
the Goliath.
we have, now it's actually time to fight one of the big guns of the Chimera. They're one of their basically ultimate machines of the Goliath.
The quote-unquote giant slayer.
On the river Thames. What's the other question, Pedro?
How's the Italian dub for this?
Fine. For all the entire trilogy, of course, was entirely dubbed, and it's solid enough for what they do. Sometimes we run into the thing that I did mention you privately, but not in commentary, that because, again, my country wants to stick to the original script, a couple of times we end up with a phrase that has, it's slightly longer than what the original might have been, and as a result, what they do is to have the voice actor record their line, and then in post they slightly, speed it up, just a bit enough, where it's technically noticeable, but it doesn't ruin the pitch. It can lead to some potential hilarious result, but I can tell you that for this case, it works perfectly just fine. Even for the voice actors that they had, I think there was even thing of consistency. There was a bit of recycling, unfortunately, but as I will mention when we get to the next couple of games, even the original English cast gets recycled a couple of times, particularly Robin Atkins, which, I really enjoy as a voice actor, but man, the guy practically has to almost hold the franchise on its back, because he voices two different protagonists and one of the villains. So
What fun
yeah.
it must have been for him.
Remember,
Hopefully
this was the early 2010s. He was voicing a lot of stuff like Travis Touchdown for No More Heroes and the Medic in Team Fortress 2. So he was kind of busy. Also, in 2009, a couple of the Nazi scientists in the Wolfenstein game done by Raven Studios. There's that too. Again, I guess it was typecasting because Robin Atkins, I guess, is good enough with the over-the-top German voice acting, I guess. Alright, for this next section you have to infiltrate through this small base so you can get on the other side, and actually find a way to destroy the Goliath. But as you can see, since I'm almost at the end of my rope with the Alpha, I need to be very careful.
very much so.
Mention, because I didn't, this is still titled the question, and might as well mention. Technically, I still prefer the original cast. Like I said, I don't mind what my country did for the voice acting. It's fine, and the script, like you said, is almost one-to-one, not really any localization things. But I prefer the inflation of the original cast. Alright, Stalker time, because again, we're not... Thankfully, the game is merciful enough to not let you fight the Goliath on foot.
Will we get to actually pilot this one for more than a minute, though?
Yes, because you have to fight that thing.
Oh, a Super Stalker!
Yeah, like I said, it's
Fight,
called the Goliath for a very good reason. Again, we have an even bigger, giant enemy crab. And unfortunately, this one doesn't have a weak point for massive damage.
So just shoot it until it falls.
Goliaths are massive walking siege batteries the Chimera used to subjugate whole cities. They employ concussion mortar batteries to soften up opposition. Entire companies have broken under mortar barrages and simply run for their lives. This exposes them to the Goliath's most fearsome weapon, the Spire. Spires are biological warfare missiles which deliver payloads of Chimeran crawlers. A single spire can infect thousands, and Goliaths never just use one. So,
No kill
again,
like overkill.
yeah, but again, as long as they work, these are basically the primary muscle of the operation because, again, for the entire game, the game has been very explanatory with this data log about how the Chimera invasion consists. They have this machine, they start by throwing the spire, which contains the minor bugs, which infect the people. Then the people get collected, put into the conversion center, which turns them into hybrid, which allows a more practical invasion against the military forces. So it's a system that's very programmed, and also as mentioned, we also seem to have structures that the Chimera knew about that were underground, and they dug up. So we don't know what their ultimate plan technically is just yet. By the time of the third game, we will know technically, but like I said, I kind of get the idea there was a bit of an afterthought in a sense that the series was not planned from the get-go to have a tree-structure plan. But again, you'll be able to judge eventually. Also, cool particle effects for the explosion.
It
Nice.
does sound like a weird cross between they had plans but weren't sure if they were going to get a sequel, and maybe that's why the story is as simple as it is in this game.
The story is very okay, while it does end with a sequel hook technically, this story is very self-contained. It's basically about Nathan Hale arriving in the UK, fucking shit up, until the chimeras are destroyed.
Okay.
So it's pretty self-explanatory there.
So unless it's like a documentary, my personal take is that their mentality of this was focusing first and foremost on the gameplay, less so much on actually giving a fuller, fleshed-out narrative.
Okay,
Not to say that there isn't lore.
I do not know if it's a case where they made the level first and then built the story around it later. But it might be possible because a lot of FPSs were built using this method, but I don't remember if it was the case with this one.
Even if they were making them simultaneously, it definitely feels like they were focusing more on nailing down the gameplay than giving a full fleshed-out narrative. And who knows? For all I know, maybe they did have a big narrative plan that, for whatever reason, had to be scrapped or cut down to... Is it fair to call it bare bones? Yeah, I mean...
You guys are just, near the beginning of this franchise. I just need to ask you to be patient and see.
I'm strictly talking about this first game, anyway, not the franchise as a whole.
Oh, to be fair, Jova, this was the one thing, the major game that essentially held the PS3 for a long while during the launch period, because the stuff that was released at launch, again, the stuff that was promised at E3 2006, half of that never arrived. A part of that was delayed and turned into something different. Hold on. Fuck me, another Widowmaker. And the stuff that arrived like Genji Days of a Blade or Lair were not, actually selling enough units to actually be gangbusters. And again, particularly for this console that costed $599 US.
So this was basically Sony's answer against stuff like Gears of War and Halo, if I understand correctly.
Yes. Well, again, as Pedro noted in one of the previous part, Killzone already was doing something, but this also was part of that.
So it's weird.
I'm sure that game. No way, I'm sure that game they showed the Heavenly Sword is gonna be the bee's knees.
Not bad shooting, I'd say.
Nice
No,
shooting,
Cartwright!
No.
To be fair, while not super developed, I kinda was caring about Cartwright.
He's actually gonna die? Shoot. I legit thought he would live on to at least develop more.
And Nathan Hale doesn't say anything to him.
Sure.
Or maybe he will survive?
That's the thing. because I know this. They don't mention that in the interviews, but the action speaks. He was supposed to technically die, but the fan base actually grew accustomed to him. If you forgot, named characters can also be used as keys in multiplayer, and people genuinely liked Cartwright. So basically, they decide to say that he survived this, because in the next couple of games, he comes back. We know that he's alive thanks to like a voice recording that is leaving, like say, oh, we've been reaching news from London about this, and he speaks a couple of lines. But in Retribution, he's actually one of the supporting characters, which is said after the events of this. So he does survive this.
And to be fair, that last scene didn't seem like him dying so much as him just rolling his head.
We didn't see the body dying, so all fair in game.
That would have been weird if they intended him to die but didn't show it clearly, which, okay, it ended up working in their favor since, you know...
Although I really still have to criticize Hale's reaction, though. Like,
oh yeah,
you couldn't even say something. You couldn't even say something like "thanks for everything." I don't know.
It's kind of hard for me to care when the protagonist himself doesn't really seem to care. You know.
You know, I will say it's weird. Like for a game that was supposed to be again Sony's last, well, I guess first bastion of defense with the genre. In the genre where storytelling was becoming, you know, more emphasized, it feels weird that this game's story feels so flaccid in a lot of areas. Like, oh, like, there is a plot, but outside of, like, the alien invasion and Cartwright, and to be fair, Cartwright being the best character so far in this is not saying much given what little characters there are in here, but it feels weird that the story doesn't feel as developed as it could be, even for a first installment. Maybe it was, again, those growing pains getting into the genre, and maybe they were focusing more on the multiplayer. I just do find it weird. Not even, like, full-on bad, just weird and confusing.
Alright, then to the next time for technically the conclusion of the story, because next time Hale infiltrates the tower and we'll see if he manages to succeed and save London and the UK or not.
Right, see you then.
Yeah.